Have you noticed how everything seems to be getting more expensive lately?
Absolutely. It's like inflation is taking over. Did you know that inflation hit a 40-year high recently?
I saw that. Prices for groceries have skyrocketed by around 10% just this year alone.
And it's not just food. Gas prices have also surged, making it hard for people to commute affordably.
Exactly. It's affecting everything. Even rent prices have increased significantly in many cities.
Right? I read that the average rent has gone up by 15% in some areas this past year.
It's crazy how inflation impacts our daily lives. It's like our salaries aren't keeping up with these rising costs.
Totally. The purchasing power of the dollar has decreased, which means we can buy less with the same amount of money.
And it's not just consumers. Businesses are feeling the pinch too. Many are struggling to keep up with increased production costs.
Exactly. This could lead to layoffs and a slowdown in economic growth if it continues. But what if I told you there are ways to fight back? Inflation doesn't have to ruin us.
Really? Okay, now you've got my attention.
Stick around. There are smart ways to not just survive inflation, but actually thrive during it. Let's break it down.
But let's be honest, it's not just fast food. Inflation has become that unwanted guest who crashes every part of your life. Your grocery runs, your gas station visits, even your beloved streaming services. Yes, even Netflix isn't safe. Sorry, binge watchers. So, what gives? Why is everything suddenly more expensive than your ex's taste in vacations? Inflation isn't just some random annoyance. It's an economic cocktail mixed with supply chain issues, rising costs, and governments printing money like it's going out of style. And here's the real kicker. While your paycheck might look the same, it buys less every year. Inflation is that silent pickpocket you never see coming, swiping value from your hard-earned cash while you're busy trying to survive Monday mornings. But don't panic. No boring economics lectures here. We're breaking this down with fewer charts, more fun, and maybe even a little dramatic flair. So, if you've ever felt personally attacked by rising prices, buckle up. We're diving into inflation, what it is, why it happens, and how you can fight back before your savings disappear faster than fries at a drive-thru. Inflation. It's that word economists throw around. But what does it actually mean for you? At its core, inflation is when the prices of goods and services rise over time, meaning your money buys less than it did before. Imagine walking into your favorite store with $100. A few years ago, that could fill your cart. Today, you might walk out with just a couple of bags, and probably not the good snacks. But inflation isn't inherently evil. In fact, the Federal Reserve, the folks who oversee the US economy, actually wants inflation to be around 2% per year. Why? Because a little inflation encourages people to spend and invest rather than hoard cash under their mattress. When people spend, businesses grow, jobs are created, and the economy hums along. Perfect, right? Well, until it isn't. There are three main culprits behind inflation. Demand pull. Inflation, when demand for goods and services outpaces supply. Imagine the latest iPhone launch. Everyone wants one, but there are only so many to go around. The result? Prices shoot up because people are willing to pay more just to get their hands on it. This happens on a larger scale when the economy is booming and everyone's spending like there's no tomorrow. Cost push inflation. This occurs when the costs of production rise, forcing businesses to increase prices. Think about rising oil prices. When fuel costs go up, it becomes more expensive to transport goods, and that cost trickles down to you, the consumer. Suddenly, your morning coffee isn't just coffee. It's coffee, plus the hidden cost of transporting beans across the globe. Monetary inflation. When there's too much money circulating in the economy, printing more money doesn't magically create more goods. It just means more dollars chasing the same amount of stuff, driving prices up. Picture a giant bake sale with only one chocolate cake left, and suddenly everyone has wads of cash to spend. The price of that cake? Through the roof. So why does inflation matter? Well, moderate inflation keeps the economy moving. It encourages spending today rather than waiting for tomorrow when prices might be higher. But when inflation spirals out of control, like it did in places like Argentina in current times, or during the 1970s US stagflation, it erodes savings, disrupts businesses, and triggers economic chaos. Today, inflation feels more painful because wages haven't always kept up with rising prices. So, while your paycheck might look the same, it doesn't stretch as far. But don't worry, we're not here to just talk doom and gloom. We'll also explore how you can protect yourself from inflation's sneaky grip. Stick with us. No need for a PhD in economics. We've got you covered. Picture this. You've been diligently saving every penny, stacking up your hard-earned cash in a savings account. You feel like a financial genius. But there's a catch, one that most people don't see coming. Inflation is quietly nibbling away at your savings like a mouse in a cheese factory. Here's the trick. Let's say you have $10,000 tucked away in a savings account, earning 1% interest. Not bad, right? Except inflation is hovering at 3% per year. Fast forward a decade, while your bank balance might show $11,000, what you can actually buy with that money has shrunk. After 10 years, it's worth only about $7,400 in today's dollars. Poof! Nearly a quarter of your purchasing power. Gone. And here's the kicker. While 3% has been the average inflation rate in recent decades, the 2020s have seen inflation surge even higher, averaging around 4.9%. That means your money is losing value even faster than before. It's like watching a magic show, except the disappearing act is your money, and there's no applause at the end. Why does this happen? Because inflation outpaces your interest rate. Even though your bank pays you interest, it's not enough to keep up with rising prices. This isn't just a hypothetical problem. Millions of people keep their savings in low-interest accounts, thinking their money is safe. But in reality, they're losing value every day. It's the economic equivalent of running on a treadmill. You're moving, but you're not getting anywhere. Inflation isn't just a buzzword. It's a clever financial loophole that quietly transfers wealth. But here's the twist. It's not just chipping away at your wallet, it's helping others escape their financial burdens. Think about it like this. Imagine you took out a massive loan to buy an apartment building. Over time, inflation pushes up rents, but your mortgage payments stay the same. Now, your tenants pay more every year, while your loan gets cheaper in real terms. That's inflation working in your favor. And guess who else is playing this game at a much larger scale? Yep, the US government. With over $34 trillion in national debt, inflation is like a magic eraser. The government borrowed money when a dollar had more value, but they'll pay it back when that same dollar is worth less. It's like promising to repay someone in bags of rice, then delivering those bags years later when they're half the size. Genius? Maybe. Fair? Questionable. Even corporate giants know this trick. Companies loaded with debt, think airlines, real estate firms, or even tech startups, see inflation as an unexpected ally. As prices rise, so do their revenues, but their fixed debts remain unchanged. They get to glide through turbulent times while inflation clears a chunk of their liabilities. And what about the average person? Inflation's silent tax creeps into every corner of your financial life, from shrinking investment returns to the rising cost of that dream vacation you're saving for. But don't worry, we're not leaving you hanging. Next up, we'll break down the tools and strategies that can help you stay one step ahead of inflation. And no, It doesn't involve stuffing cash under your mattress. So, inflation is gnawing away at your money. Great. But here's the good news. You're not defenseless. There are ways to fight back, and no, it doesn't involve time travel or winning the lottery. First up, invest in the stock market. Stocks tend to grow faster than inflation over the long term. While inflation might be chipping away at your savings, companies are raising prices, increasing profits, and boosting their stock value. It's like being on the winning side of inflation's game. Imagine owning shares in a streaming service that keeps hiking its subscription fees. Annoying as a user, but rewarding as an investor. Another weapon? Real estate. Inflation pushes up property values and rental income. If you own property, your mortgage stays fixed, but the value of your asset and the rent you can charge rises. It's why so many investors love real estate during inflationary periods. Think of it like locking in your Netflix subscription at $9.99 for life, while everyone else pays $20. Then there's commodities, things like gold, oil, and even agricultural products. When prices rise, so do the costs of these essential goods, making them a solid hedge against inflation. Remember the frenzy when gas prices shot up? Those invested in oil stocks weren't complaining. And don't overlook Treasury inflation-protected securities, or TIPS. These government bonds adjust with inflation, so your returns rise as prices climb. It's like having a savings account that actually fights inflation instead of surrendering to it. So now you know the classic ways to fight inflation. But what if you're looking for something a little different? Beyond stocks, real estate, and gold? Because let's face it, everyone talks about those. But there are other often overlooked strategies that smart investors use to stay ahead. Let's explore some unconventional ways to protect your wealth. Invest in yourself. Increasing your skills through courses, certifications, or side hustles can boost your income. Inflation shrinks buying power, but those who earn more keep up and even get ahead. Think of it as giving yourself a raise without asking your boss. Buy big now, save big later. Inflation means prices go up. If you know you'll need a laptop, home appliances, or even a car soon, buying now locks in today's prices. It's like time travel, minus the paradoxes. But be careful. This only works if you know you need to spend soon. Balance between your need to spend now versus investing the money. Peer-to-peer lending. Platforms like Lending Club let you lend money directly to borrowers, earning interest that often beats inflation. Congratulations, you're now the bank. Dividend stocks pay you regularly, providing income that grows over time, like getting a paycheck from your investments. Rare items like art, vintage watches, and classic cars often rise in value as inflation pushes prices higher. Investing in markets with lower inflation or stronger currencies hedges against domestic inflation. REITs. Real estate investment trusts let you invest in property markets without buying buildings, providing solid inflation-beating returns. Inflation may be relentless, but with the right moves, you can stay ahead. But we're not the first to face inflation's challenges. History is full of lessons from those who lived through it, and their stories can help us prepare for whatever comes next.
I just opened a new savings account. I'm so excited to start saving money. Every little bit counts, right?
That's great. But have you thought about how inflation might affect your savings?
Inflation? Isn't that just a buzzword? I thought saving was the smart move.
It does sound like a buzzword, but it's important. For example, last year, inflation in the US was about 7%, meaning prices are rising quickly. If your savings account is only earning 1% interest, you're actually losing money over time.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So, what do you suggest I do?
You might want to explore other options, like a high-yield savings account or even investing. Historically, the stock market has averaged about a 7% return annually, which can outpace inflation.
But isn't investing risky? I don't want to lose my money.
It can be, but there are safer investment options too, like index funds. They spread out risk and typically grow over time. I started investing a few years ago, and it's been a game changer for my savings.
That sounds promising. I guess I need to rethink my savings strategy.
Absolutely. Just remember, it's not only about saving but also about making your money work for you against inflation.
Inflation isn't a modern problem. It's been shaping economies for centuries. We'll dive deeper into these moments in future Economic Simplified videos. But for now, let's take a quick look at how inflation has made its mark on history, offering valuable lessons for those paying attention. Take Zimbabwe in the 2000s. A perfect storm of economic mismanagement and excessive money printing. Prices doubled daily. Imagine needing a backpack of cash just for groceries. Savings, gone. Stability, out the window. Then there's Weimar Germany in the 1920s. Hyperinflation turned life upside down. Workers were paid multiple times a day because waiting meant worthless paychecks. Families burned cash for heat because it was cheaper than firewood. And the US in the 1970s. Stagflation brought rising prices and stagnant growth. Gas lines stretched for miles, living costs soared, and unemployment rose. It took bold, painful decisions, like raising interest rates, to bring the economy back. History has shown us what works and what doesn't. So how can you apply those lessons to protect your money today? Although inflation can feel overwhelming, history teaches us that strategic planning can mitigate its impact. By investing in yourself, considering peer-to-peer lending, exploring dividend stocks, and diversifying into international investments, you can build a resilient financial portfolio. Remember, the key is to be proactive, diversified, and well-informed. Inflation is just another challenge that, with the right strategy, you can overcome. Stay vigilant, stay educated, and you'll navigate through these economic tides successfully. Finding high APYs and cash bonuses doesn't have to be. Head to moneysmylife.com for the best ways to grow your money, even when prices rise. Find the link in the description. Hit like, subscribe to Economics Simplified, and join us as we break down complex economic topics, one binge-worthy video at a time. See you in the next one.